And here we are. It's Bosco, and joined here to get in, as always, Zach.
Hey, Zach here.
And, yeah. How you doing?
Not bad. So, just yesterday we were at the Van Gogh Museum, the interactive, immersive Van Gogh
It was some bullshit.
Wait, tell me what you thought of it. Some bullshit?
I told you right from the get that when we got there, I thought it was, my expectations, I thought it was going to be like an actual exhibit. But turns out it was just basically just an Instagram trap. It was just like, some place for you to take pictures at and post on Instagram and tag it and fucking, yeah. It was like a cool edited video projected onto this, onto all these walls. But the thing is that, like, I don't know, it just kind of felt lacking a lot, and for $60 ticket, it's pretty whack, in my opinion.
Yeah, so this was the Van Gogh, immersive Van Gogh exhibit. I think it's just a temporary exhibit in San Francisco. They were $60 tickets. I think the cheapest advertiser, $40, $45? But those were said that it was like the basic experience. Said it was sold out. And it was sold out for the entire time. We're a little bit suspicious that those tickets never existed.
Yeah.
and that they just put those there as being sold out, so you had to offer the more expensive ticket. The most expensive one being about $100. And pretty much we went in, I think, with the expectation that it was gonna be like a even just walking in, you see it, you're going through like a corridor, and we were, I think, expecting to go in and like go through like a whole like hallways and in the different rooms and like maybe a little guided, but like something that would immerse you in the life and times of Van Gogh and like do it in a cool, unique style that's, different from museum to museum. Yeah. And we get into the first room and it's cool, right? It's like all like it was no doubt a cool way of presenting it, but like that's like it was just a room, big room, 4 walls, and all the walls have like projections onto them. Fuck, I almost dropped my mic there. And all of the walls have projections onto them, and it shows like animated versions of Van Gogh's it's 4 walls, big room, projecting Van Gogh's art, and it like moves on the wall, and it was cool, and it's a repeating loop of a video, and it was 35 minutes, and we go walk in there and we're like, this is cool, this is dope, and we watch for a little bit, and we're expecting to like continue on to like another part of the exhibit, like another room where there's another presentation of Van Gogh's works in probably a different way. Turns out that one room with the 35 minutes animated slideshow was it.
Yeah.
It was cool. And I told you, it reminded me of that Pace Gallery light show thing I've been to, which had several rooms also. That one was a little bit cooler. It had a lot more rooms in it. And this was just strictly one room. And I was like, for $60, we basically paid for like an animated slideshow of Van Gogh's work, like a animated presentation.
Yeah. I could have just watched that on YouTube and gotten the same effect.
I mean, the room was cool. You can't deny that. But for the price, it should have been like a $20 thing. It was like $60 and it was 35 minutes. So you're basically paying like something like $2 a minute, practically. And just to kind of, and there's no context given, there's no narration of it, there's no like explanation of why the pieces are ordered in the way they are, or like nothing. The only immersive thing about it was like you were just surrounded on all 4 walls by the work. So it was extremely overwhelming. Underwhelming.
Yeah.
And pretty disappointing. And you know what? Like, I think there's better museums out there. I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna trust Instagram ads for
museums at least,
culture and shit. Yeah.
So Interactive Van Gogh Museum, if you've heard of it, if you've seen it, probably
it's not worth it. Take a pass.
Yeah, go somewhere else.
Go look at his art online, and you'll get the same effect.
I mean, it's not going to be projected on the walls, though. I mean, it's cool, but for the price, if this was $15, $20 tickets, for sure that'd be a little cool.
Right.
But the price it was at, no way.
Yeah.
No way. $60 for that, you're getting gypped.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was very
lame.
disappointing. Yeah.
So that's the one thing that happened for us recently that we can bash.
Yeah.
An actual experience. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
One to bash.
Yeah.
Van Gogh Museum. Put the hammer down on him.
Yeah.
Drop the hammer.
Yeah, it's yeah.
It was like
it's
set
not
to
good.
some grandiose music and whatnot.
It was made by some fucking jerk offs.
And it really was an Instagram trap, like you said. It's just there to like kind of like, oh, take a few pictures and be like, cool. If there was more to it in the museum, if there was more rooms that like did similar things of like, you know, using lights in the whole room to kind of surround you with it, that'd be a little cooler. But this was like just one room, 35-minute slideshow. And then thanks for coming, and their gift shop was super expensive.
Yeah.
I was like, I was not immersed enough to now want to buy Van Gogh merch.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna level with you. On top of that, I also got some bad news yesterday.
What's up?
I mean, it leads into one of my stories.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? Or
Let's go.
All right. So my corporate slam piece this week, I guess I should do an intro.
Mm-hmm.
What is a slam? It is a dunking on corporations and their greed. Good day, sir.
All right.
So this week I'm slamming more so. I'm gonna be talking about the Nina Turner versus Chantel Brown race, and I know. I mean, you even said right before recording this, like, why should I give a shit?
It's not my representative.
I understand
it's in
that.
a state that doesn't represent me.
I understand, but it's a bellwether. It's a bellwether for progressive politicians moving forward, going against establishment Democrats, right? So even though, you know, it may not be your particular district, I also think it has a lot to say about campaign finance reform. So I'm in general this week, I'm not bashing any particular corporation other than maybe the establishment Democrats, but I more so want to focus on campaign finance reform.
Okay.
So let's just talk about so basically, like I said, I was very upset Nina Turner lost. I was a big fan of hers because she was big in the Bernie movement. That's how I first got to know her. She gives really impassioned speeches. She's honestly a working class hero, if you ask me. I think she's just
Why?
Just because she
Tell me a little bit about her. What makes her important?
I mean, she's been a local politician. She's fought for you know, a lot of good policies in her area.
Like what?
I don't know specifically, to be honest. She's been on the Cleveland City Council, on the Ohio State Senate. She has, you know, she's just been right on a lot of the issues, right? And this is like her first chance to enter the national scene, right? Mm-hmm. To enter national politics. Okay. And what happened is that basically she had about a 40-point lead in her in internal polling. And what happened is a lot of people are wondering, doing postmortems of the campaign, trying to figure out what went wrong, especially for a progressive politician like Nina Turner. I also wanted to bring this up too because she's been getting a lot of hate online because I think that the money power that was behind Chantel Brown basically just constructed all these different lies about Nina Turner that
so this isn't a primary race, right?
This is a Democratic primary race, right? And it's a blue district. It's a right. I think it encompasses Cleveland. I'm pretty sure. Basically, I'm gonna talk about Israel. Okay. I know you're laughing, but it's important. If you want to know my personal,
this is for Senate or for the House of Representatives.
For the House of Representatives, and the reason why I'm going to be talking about Israel is because Israel, through the Democratic Majority for Israel, it's a super PAC, funded about $1.8 million in opposition to Nina Turner in dollars, campaign donations. And I think it's important to talk about because, it's about how money influences politicians, right? One of the first things Chantel Brown said after she won is she wanted to thank her Jewish brothers and sisters, right? It's clearly just showing the moneyed interest that supported her, My particular feelings on the issue, if you're at all interested, is that I think, I want equality for the Palestinian people. Mm-hmm. I'm not, anti-Semitic, but I'm not.
I'm not saying you are. I just think that's a funny little disclaimer leading into this.
Well, you have to, because the thing is nowadays is that if you're at all critical of Israel, they want to slap an anti-Semitism tag onto whatever you're saying because it's against Israel, right? Because you may have some criticisms about the way, human rights violations and what have you. So let's get into it. So, let's talk about Citizens United. So in case you don't know, do you know about Citizens United?
Yeah, I know what Citizens United is.
So for those who don't know, it was an important Supreme Court decision about campaign finance and free speech. And the decision was that free speech prohibits the government from restricting independent expenditures for political campaigns by corporations, wealthy billionaires, and PACs. And the point is that
basically that means the thing with Citizens United was it gave corporations the power to individually contribute to political action committees, and they would become what is called super PACs, as in that a corporation is an entity, is an individual, is thought of as an individual,
and that entity, individual has free speech through money. That money equals free speech. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. So, like I said, this race is also important because it shows the division within the Democratic Party, and that this was a race that was, even though, yes, it is just one congressional seat, one congressional seat can make a lot of difference. Just looking to recent news, Cori Bush. So I'm sorry, I was wrong. She was a House of Representative. She's a representative out of Missouri. Okay. And recently, I don't know if you caught this, but there was this whole discussion about the eviction moratoriums. Going on. And
I saw a lot of chatter on the more conservative right wing side saying that Biden is trying to enact I saw the exact phrase, eternal eviction moratoriums, like as I wish trying to make it so that it'll be forever impossible to evict somebody. So essentially free rent.
Right. And Cori Bush, she really needs to be commended because what she did is she's had previous experience with being homeless and living on the streets. So as a way to kind of bring attention to this issue, because a lot of people in the Senate, in the House, they were called to recess. I think it's the Senate that was called to recess, if I'm not mistaken, because I know Kristen Sinema was causing concern about having to stay and, you know, have more work time go into her vacation. She's like, if it goes into my vacation time, I'm not voting. Mm-hmm. She sucks. Okay. Cori Bush, though. What she did is that she slept outside of the Capitol building, and she basically stayed out there kind of as a statement to bring attention to the fact that millions of people are behind their rent, and that a lot of people are going to be kicked out of their homes. So what happened is this I think it was this morning, the CDC increased the eviction moratorium 2 more months, which is not going to solve the problem, but at least it gives more time for them to figure out.
I think that was a recommendation because the CDC doesn't have that power. Right, they recommended that.
And then Biden went off of that recommendation. So, you know, I think that's a good thing. I just think that there's going to be a bigger issue going forward about how are we going to address all these people behind on their rents and, you know, what have you. That's another story for another day. But I think, you know, that's just one representative out of Missouri. And she brought attention to this issue because there was a lot of media fever around the fact that she was out here, you know, kind of doing antics, as they like to call it. But in reality, you know, she was protesting, and I thought, and she deserves all the credit for that. You know, she really did a good thing. So, you know, one representative can make a lot of noise, you know, a lot of them. So yeah, so let's get back into this. So like I said, the Democratic Majority for Israel PAC in 2019 spent over $1.8 million against Nina Turner. Almost more than all other outside spending combined in here. I have a graph to show you real quick. See, right here.
Okay, so this is for
the
donations to this political campaign,
right? And so you can see that the Democratic Majority for Israel PAC outspend basically every other PAC by a long shot, almost more than all of them combined.
Yeah,
and so you know, it's been rough because a lot of people have been criticizing Nina Turner by saying, because she said that evil money support evil dark money, but she was getting at the fact that corporate influence helped win this election, because Chantel Brown was just a local politician, no one real great, but she got plucked out because Nina Turner is critical of the Democratic Party, right? One of the attacks used on her were that she made a comment about Biden, voting for Biden or voting for Trump. And she said, well, voting for Trump is like eating a whole bowl of shit, and voting for Biden is like eating half a bowl of shit. So you'd rather eat half a bowl of shit, but you're still eating a bowl of shit, and wouldn't it be nice to not eat a bowl of shit? And, you know, and I think it's a fine comment to make, but, you know, a lot of people are critical of her because she has said this, you know, because there's all this, you know, fervor in the Democratic, what's it called? The establishment Democrats that, you know, we want unity. We need the progressives to be, you know, a united front with the Democrats and support, you know, moderate policies, basically.
Well, then they wouldn't really be progressives if they were supporting moderate policies, would they?
No, they wouldn't. But they have been. I'm not super critical of the squad as some other lefties are, but I think they're doing a good job. They just need to maybe not be so. There's this term called Washington brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's a lot of people, they have high-minded ideas, but then they go to Washington and then, they kind of buy into the, come on, let's get along, let's play together, let's play nicely.
Yeah.
So, basically, this same group spent about $1.4 million attacking Bernie in 2020 because of his support of BDS, which is the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement that's proposed to promoting boycotts, divestments, and economic sanctions against Israel to to have Israel fulfill its obligations under international law, defined as the withdrawal from occupied territories, removal of the separation barrier in the West Bank, and full equality for Arab Palestinians of Israel. Right. So that's what the BDS movement is. And I think I mentioned to you the other day that Abby Martin, she was speaking at a college, and the college made her sign that she won't that she is anti-BDS, which, Abby Martin, if you're not familiar, one of the things she's covered the most is the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So, of course, she wasn't going to sign that. And I think she actually won a court case about that. So Robert Kraft is one of the... So basically...
The guy that owns the Patriots?
Yeah, the guy that owns the Patriots. He supported Trump. He donated about $1 million to his campaign and other Republican candidates. He donated around $20,000 to Chantel Brown. A lot of conservatives are in this super PAC, right? So and a lot of conservatives have kind of funneled money through this PAC to support Chantel Brown. She says she's a Democrat, but she's funded by Republicans,
Well, people will take money anywhere it comes in from.
Yeah, but...
The point I think I see here is what's common in American politics and systems of power, and that's money protects money and power protects power. So, even though Kraft and other Republicans and certain PACs and super PACs might be aligned with the Republican Party and aligned with more right-wing issues, like they look to interfere with the other side by giving the other side, supporting them with money and power in order to protect the interest of other money and other sources of money and power. So a PAC that is pro-Israel, which is pro-Israel, usually falls. I mean, it's the issue goes across both sides, but it's typically supported by Republican-aligned politicians and more right-wing sources, and they basically, Kraft coming
and moderate Democrats too.
Becoming involved is I said it goes across both sides.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that.
And Kraft becoming involved is it's just another way that they all look out for their own interests, essentially, right. Each other's interest, and in turn, it's a system of protecting power, basically.
Right. No, and I get that. I guess my whole point of bringing this up is that we shouldn't it shouldn't be okay in America. It really, I know that it's that's kind of an idealistic view of democracy, but I wish that corporate influence wouldn't affect elections so much as they do in modern day America. 500,000 in support of Chantel Brown came from a corporate AstroTurf group called Third Way. And AstroTurf, are you familiar with that term?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically a fake grassroots movement. It's most a good example would be the Tea Party was funded by a lot of AstroTurf groups who they were funded by the Crafts, not the Crafts, the Kochs. She only lost by 6%, which shows me that it was close. It's pretty close. But like
6%.
Yeah.
6%, as far as my understanding of an election, is a pretty big margin of defeat.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. The point is there was a low voter turnout for this election as well. In this area. So the thing is that I haven't lost complete hope. I do think that she'll have another chance to run and it'll be fine. But I just want to take a look at, the reason why Chantel Brown was chosen by the Democratic establishment is because she wouldn't be a boat rocker. She wouldn't be someone who, challenged the authority of the establishment Dems. And, Nina Turner definitely would have. And I think they were really afraid of that, and that's why they ended up supporting her. I don't know. I just think it's just indicative of the system we live in, the how political machines work and how, corporations, that money wins elections.
Yeah, like I said, the power protects the power. So, establishment Democrats, if you want to call them that, are going to support and protect other establishment Democrats so that they're in power, and in turn will continue to support the system that put them in power in the first place. It's just the way it is, I guess.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be alright. We shouldn't just be okay with it. How is this not, when I think about it, how is this not a bigger, how are people just okay with this is what I'm thinking. Is it just that it's too big of a thing that you're like, what am I gonna fucking do to affect it? Why are we just okay with politicians just engaging in outright corruption?
I don't know if this would be considered corruption. This is just...
she got 1.8 million from, that basically funded all of these attack ads on Nina Turner, saying that she's against Medicare for All, which, as someone who is a big fan of Bernie's platform, that's not fucking true. She was it said that, she's against raising the minimum wage. She's against changing I forget the other thing that they wrote on there. But the point being is that they create... Now, where I will criticize the Nina Turner campaign is that I don't think they went hard enough against this Chantel Brown candidate, because she had this Chantel Brown had an ethics probe because she gave favorable construction contracts to her boyfriend, who's a contractor, and that's she was facing this ethics probe, so it's just shady. It's just shady. And yeah, I was a fan of Nina Turner, so yeah, of course, I was gonna bring this up because of that. But I think it's something that we kind of should keep in the back of our minds when expecting a certain politician to win, especially if you're more left leaning like we are. I think you just keep in mind that there's a lot of big moneyed interests that want to protect power, like you said.
Yeah.
So, just keep that in mind. All right, I'll move on to my next story. So, I was thinking about doing this one because I know it's something that's close to you and something you care about, Zach. And it's about a lot of these anti-homeless legislations that have been going on. In particular, we're going to look at some LA ordinances that were signed into effect last week, I think, and about how cities choose to deal with their homeless problem. So, new LA ordinance prohibits any sitting, sleeping, or storing items on public property, right? Votes, but...
It's called anti-camping city ordinance.
Okay.
It was passed in Santa Cruz while we were living there.
Right. You were telling me about that. Yeah. And, so basically what the legislation says is that circumstances where votes would be needed and they would take every encampment situation by situation and vote on whether or not to clear them out, right? Mm-hmm. So, except in these cases, if the tent is near a fire hydrant, if people are sleeping within 5 feet of a building's entrance, if tents are obstructing the street or bike paths, or if tents are blocking the sidewalks.
There's also another one. I don't know. Maybe that's all certain to LA. Another one that's actually somewhat important is no camping within, I think it's 100 yards of a river. I don't remember the exact measurement of it, but you can't be on the riverbed. And that's actually important because homeless camps do build up a lot of waste, and rivers lead out to the ocean. It pollutes waterways.
Totally. And I'm not saying that, we should just be okay with all of these encampments and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is that just by forcing them to move is just putting off the problem until later. Once an area is approved, signs are installed followed by a public 14-day notice. And, there's been a lot of criticism of this bill, of this ordinance, because there's not enough shelter space. And also, they didn't provide any places where they could camp, right? So, all these people, I showed you that video, I sent it to our group chat, where it was the video of the cops with ARs forcing the people off of Venice Beach that were encamped there. And, I personally feel like we need to fund more shelters. I understand that not everyone's going to want to go into a shelter, but we need to put more funding into that if we're going to be forcing these people off the streets. We need to give them an alternative, right? We need to give them a viable alternative. And I don't think just, clearing them out, because, if you ask like a lot of like right-leaning people, they want to just like, they really just want to get rid of them. They just want to get rid of them. They don't want to think about them. It's kind of inhumane, personally, I feel. But, as someone who worked with the homeless population, I'm really curious to hear your point of view on this.
All right. Well, look, working with both the city and the county of Santa Cruz, I've seen all kinds of different viewpoints on this, on both ends of the extreme. A common thing I heard repeated in Santa Cruz, and I'm sure it's the same in LA, where obviously it's a much bigger city, so there's a lot more homeless people there. Homelessness is a problem in San Jose. So it's not a subject, or it's not an issue that we're alien to. It's around us. It's in our backyards in some cases. We've been over to friends' houses, and literally you can see behind the fence homeless people camping in the area behind the fence if they're backed up to like the Guadalupe River. A lot of times what I've heard county and city workers say is like they essentially play games of whack-a-mole. Mm-hmm. And a camp pops up somewhere, a lot of trash is created, and especially when a camp gets bigger, it can be a source of drama and in the town. So it's like whack-a-mole. You get rid of one camp, eventually they'll pop up somewhere else. If you remember, you weren't living in Santa Cruz at the time, but for a couple years, just a couple years ago, they had the Ross camp located behind, called Ross camp because it was located behind the Ross on where the 17 exited onto the Highway 1, and was right near River Street. that was a massive camp.
Right.
It was so big it could have had its own zip code, honestly.
Okay.
Like, there was hundreds of people living there, and the camp was pretty filled with a lot of drama. Like I said, there was ODs would happen there, violence, petty crime, sexual assaults from time to time. It was like not a pretty sight, and I had gone through there a couple times just out of curiosity. And it really looked like a shanty town. Like, you would, if you just took just a picture of that and showed it to somebody and said, what country do you think this is in? You would probably not guess America right away. It looked like some type of shanty town, some type of slum. It was really a sight to behold. And I would hear too stories from people that had lived there about, like, there was infestations of roaches and bed bugs, and people were sick a lot. This is pre-COVID time too. And very close living quarters, lots of mud in there too. Biohazards from piss and shit. So they eventually did put porter potties out in front of it and trash everywhere. They tried to bring in dumpsters. It would all end up getting overflowed. And so it was like very, very bad conditions, very poor conditions. But obviously people are living there because they feel like this is like, they don't really have a lot of other choices. That's where the drugs are. Like, to be honest, right. A lot of people living in this spots are on drugs. That's where all the dope is. I would hear stories from people that emergency workers would refuse, at a certain point, started refusing to come in there. Because they thought they were endangering themselves going in there. And so that if someone was ODing or something bad was happening, they would remove the person to the parking lot, the Ross parking lot, and call emergency services over there. You know? So eventually it wasn't even the city or the county that cleared it. It was Caltrans, the state Caltrans that controls highways, because it was so close to Highway 1. Caltrans came in and was like, nah, fuck this. Clear this out. They came in, did the whole operation, fenced it off. It took days, a long time, weeks practically, and but nothing was done to address the greater issue. All those people were just sent back out onto the streets, where another camp would begin to form in the San Lorenzo Park, right outside the county building, the county courthouse, and, you know, basically the seat of the county in Santa Cruz. You know, and, you know, people would go to various places. The Pogonips also was popular. And, you know, what I saw and what I worked with during the pandemic was, you know, it was like their best answer to what the city and the county could provide, which was like a camp in the San Lorenzo, outside on the riverbed, far enough away from the water though, and essentially it was put there as like a COVID emergency camp. And it's, you know, so that they could make sure that people were being distanced properly, because obviously homeless people are not really going to be all that concerned with their health, you know?
And it was I actually saw this camp, and compared to some of the other states I've seen, especially Vegas. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw what they did, what their version of that was, but they basically painted a bunch of parking spots and had people, they had like little bedrolls in these little parking spots to, you know, ensure, but they didn't even have an enclosement. And think about how hot it is in fucking Vegas. They're just fucking laying on the goddamn asphalt, baking alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was at least
we tried our best to keep things clean, to keep people distanced, to enforce some of the COVID guidelines, and like people were pretty respectful of it and tried to be considerate when we reminded them, you know, but like a lot of these people are not like very compliant with all things considered. COVID aside, they aren't very compliant with everything else in the world. So just, you know, COVID, I kind of think they were like, that was like one of the last things on their mind, or just, it was just, they just didn't really care a lot of times. But, you know, the problem right now, especially in California, is I think this was a federal order. They're not allowing camps to be dispersed. Same thing with evictions, because the idea is if someone's sick, you want to have the ability to quarantine, and you want to have the ability to shelter in place or whatever.
Right, hence the eviction moratorium.
Yeah, and so the idea with not clearing the camps is if we're going to keep clearing these camps as they do, you know, when a pandemic isn't happening, you're basically spreading out people more and more, and the risk of transmitting COVID becomes higher. So that the idea is like, it would be better to have people living here at a sanctioned camp where we can enforce some type of guidelines and you know, try and keep people safe without having to move them all over the city day in, day out, you know, and have the battles with police. Obviously, people are going to resist. People are going to get arrested.
Right.
You know, and this is a problem here in San Jose, too. Like, there was I was hearing recently about the airport in San Jose has a huge camp outside of it that's erring on the side of becoming as large as the jungle, which the jungle was in the early 2010s, a camp underneath...
One of the largest homeless encampments in all of the U.S.
Yeah, and it was underneath 101 and 680 interchange, I believe, or somewhere around there.
Right.
And that one was massive, and they kept trying to shut it down, and people would keep coming back. It's a popular spot, again, filled with all the common problems that a homeless camp has: violence, theft, drug overdoses, and just general unsanitary conditions. And they ended up coming in there and putting giant rocks all around so that it was impossible, like, unless you're like a rock climber, to get through. Damn. You know, and just people couldn't get through with all their stuff, essentially. Okay. And outside the airport, the FAA, the Federal Flight Administration, the federal agency, told the city of San Jose that they have to dismantle or to get rid of those camps because it's becoming a flight risk. Yeah. Which is just, this problem is endemic in a lot of ways, and it's not contained to just California. I think something to remember is people will look at California cities, LA, the Bay Area, Santa Cruz, and be like, oh, California's failing, and that's why it's like this. Homelessness happens around the nation. Right. It happens in every urban major area. The thing with Santa Cruz was a bit of a microcosm of these problems. And Santa Cruz has dabbled in all sorts of anti-homeless legislation from the anti-camping ordinances. And let's be honest,
a lot of homeless people were directed towards Santa Cruz.
That's what I've heard.
Right. That's at least what I've heard.
That's what I've heard too. And when I worked with the city, working with the county, I worked in a organization that was with the Department of Human Services, a more social, community-based organization, part of the county. So the people I worked with were a bit more sympathetic. When I worked with the city, we did Parks and Rec, and our job was to go out there and basically try and clean up abandoned sites. But the people I worked with there were a lot less sympathetic. And so I saw two views of it. The city, on one extreme, the people I worked with in the city were kind of like, oh, these people are criminals, they're freeloaders, they're just causing messes, they don't give a fuck who they hurt, they don't give a fuck how much they're damaging our town, and they just want to have the freedom to do whatever they want, camp wherever they want, piss and shit wherever they want, and get high all day, so that's one extreme that I've heard. And I understand those people's frustrations too. It is when you look at these situations in Santa Cruz, walking down Coral Street, walking through the Pogo Nips, seeing Ross Camp, seeing it on the levee, you are kind of like, what the hell is wrong here? What is happening? Yeah. And of course there's the other end that is a much more of a viewpoint, these are human beings, which of course they are, and every human being deserves to get treated with respect and dignity. But sometimes I felt like they were a bit complacent and inept in a lot of ways. They didn't act in a more direct manner. They were very easygoing, where I think the important part to confront homelessness, it needs to be a community-based outreach initiative. Right.
Less policing.
Yeah. And the attacking them, going after them like they're criminals, calling them animals and savages it's not helping anybody. No. It's making everybody angrier. It's making the resentment grow stronger. But at the same time, like, I felt like there should have been a bigger push from the county to start getting people involved in social programs, to get people involved in drug counseling, to get people on paths to get reacclimated to society in the ways they see fit. I've talked with plenty of homeless people. Some of them do see it as a lifestyle choice, like as a rejection to society and the greater world.
Okay.
You know, and I partly respected that and thought that was interesting. Like, this is like them rejecting living in the real world.
Let me pose this to you though. Do they reject society because they feel like society doesn't give a shit about them? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it would be different across the board. A lot of things I would hear is, a lot of them would be like, I don't believe in money. I don't like money. I don't want to make money. I hate spending. I hate consuming, which was one I always found interesting, a rejection of economy and money itself and finances. Other people kind of saw it as like just an outright rejection of society, you know, just like, I don't want to participate in modern life. I don't want to go to work. I have the freedom to choose. This is America. I have the freedom to choose how I want to live, and I don't want to go to work. I don't want to have a 401k. I don't want to fucking do this and that. I'd rather choose to live this life.
What about the victims of circumstance, though?
I mean, of course, there are those people, and what there needs to be is the opportunity, if you are in that situation and you want a way out, which I think most of them do. Most people want to be comfortable. You know, the people roughing it and have kind of come to accept that. A lot of them have been on the streets for so long, they've kind of just accepted it as that's their life, and they've embraced it in order to not be so miserable. Rates of suicide among homeless people are very high, though. Very high. And, you know, I think that there should be more clear paths to social programs and better outreach overall.
Yeah. Drug counseling. I think, we need to, have more subsidized housing, especially living in an area like we live in San Jose, where, I mean, we live in one of the most expensive housing markets in all of the U.S., even the world.
Yeah, more. I mean, the affordable housing is going to come after. For a lot of these people, there's a lot of steps before the housing.
I understand, but I'm saying that no half measures. We need to attack this problem because
it needs to be a step-by-step process.
Right.
Get people into shelters where, first off, they're safe. A lot of homeless people are not safe. A lot of talking with them, hearing from them, people on the streets are scared. All 24/7. You're afraid of violence. You're afraid of getting robbed. You're afraid of getting sick and dying.
Okay.
So the first step is creating some type of safety for these people. Safety, and to reduce that anxiety, that hopelessness, and the constant fear that many homeless people live in. Because if you are stuck with hopelessness, fear, and anxiety, you're going to be drinking
you're not
a lot.
Go anywhere.
You're going to be drinking a lot. You're going to be doing drugs. You're going to be losing your mind.
Oh, yeah. You know,
So the first step is creating some type of safety.
We need to create the framework of, like you said, a way out for these people. We need to not just do the shelter. We need to build it fully out. We need all that stuff. We need drug counseling. We need the shelters where people feel safe. We need, you know, honestly, we need socialized medicine. That would do wonders for a lot of these people who are uninsured, you know.
Well, they do have access to a lot of times. A lot of them are on Medi-Cal.
Right.
And so they do have access, and there is in Santa Cruz HPHP, which did a lot of good work.
Well, that's good.
And so they did have access to some type of
but that might not be the case for, you know, people, you know, homeless, unhoused people in different areas, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think a lot of people just kind of want them to just go away. A lot, you know.
And that's the idea with the anti-camping ordinances and stuff. It's not a solution. It's more of trying to push the problem out of sight.
They don't want to think about it. They don't want to see it. And, you know, it's kind of like they want to be like out of sight, out of mind. But I think we need to address this shit because it's happening a lot here in California where we reside, but it's happening, like you said, all over. And, you know, I see a lot of times, you know, me personally working in, you know, the mental health field, a lot of the clients I work with probably would be homeless if they weren't, if they hadn't, got access to medicine, access to, psychiatric treatment, all that stuff. So, I have a lot of sympathy for them, as I know you do as well. And I hate seeing people kind of just otherize them and just kind of see them as like an albatross on society that we need to get rid of and just kind of force into another corner to where we don't have to deal with them on a daily basis. And I think we need to, we need to address that. And it's important because, especially like I said, with this eviction moratorium, who knows what's going to fucking happen, because there's going to be a lot of people who the rent's going to come due and a lot of people are months behind on rent, and that might increase the homeless population by a lot. So I think this is something to keep your eye on. I have a little bit more sympathy towards homeless people, I think, is the message I wanted to bring with this story, is because a lot of the times I feel like homeless people get referred to as it, or, just like as, like kind of they kind of dehumanize them a little bit. People tend to do that.
And it's not going to be easy either. Like the homeless world is a rough place. And a lot of these people have adjusted to that. A lot of these people spend a lot of time incarcerated and have adjusted to violence and just that rough and tumble world.
Are you saying they chose violence?
They adjusted to it.
Yeah.
It's the world that they live in. Right. So a lot of times for the common person, middle class, whatever, walking down the street, you might see a homeless person yelling at you for no reason. And you're like, oh, that person's, out of their mind. They're crazy, whatever. Like, that's a lot of times a lot of it is homeless people feel unseen. It's a combination of things. So it's a lot of it is a defense mechanism. So the reason a lot of homeless people might seem so abrasive and so rough is like that's kind of the world that they live in, and they have to act in that way in order to survive.
Yeah.
So,
and this is coming from the former mayor of Santa Cruz. So.
Mm-hmm. I never lose an election. The Israel Super PAC has nothing on me.
All right, so let's go into our shame segment. There's a couple people. All right, so it's that time to bring some shame upon folks. Shame on you. Shame, doobie doo. Shame. That's the name of the game.
We had Frank Sinatra Jr. in the studio today.
No, that would be more like, shame, how do you do? Shame on you. Anyway, so, all right, so...
There he is, Frank Sinatra Jr.
We wanted to shame the baby.
The baby.
Yeah, we want...
Legendary rapper, the baby.
One of the most memeable rappers.
I want to start with that question. Why is the baby so memeable?
I think it's just the name.
The baby? Yeah.
I think it's literally just the name.
It's a grown man covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
Who came out and he's like, I'm the baby. But he doesn't, like, it's not a character or anything. He is who he is. Like, just that's the nickname he likes, I guess. I was having a thought about it because, if you know, sometime last year, there on the baby subreddit, there was no it's supposed to be a subreddit dedicated to talking about the rapper, about the musician, and it was like purely just centered around it bordered on a little bit of racism, and it was just centered around
it had more than just a little bit of racism in it.
It's centered around just like making jokes like I remember one of the first that I saw was like, what? And I was like, let me see what's going on over here. It was like, hey guys, today I was at the store and I saw a black gentleman there. And immediately I'm like, that's the baby. So I go up to him and introduce myself to him, tell the baby I love his work. And to my surprise, can you believe this is not the baby?
Yeah.
And that's what I learned, that there are other black people out there other than just the baby.
Yeah.
And I was...
Yeah, no,
and so
it's
all the
weird.
jokes were centered about that, or him being like, let's go.
Yeah.
I pull up.
It's weird. I don't understand...
I think it has something to do with him, though. Like, why is this not something that happens to other rappers, though?
I think it's literally just his name. I don't even think it's all that deep. I think it's just because it's duh with a duh. Because there's a Lil Baby, and no one gives a shit. No one's making memes about Lil Baby. Yeah. But duh baby? I don't know. Maybe it's, but that's kind of beside the point. Let's talk about why the man deserves some shame. He deserves some shame because...
he's ignorant.
Yeah. He made some real homophobic comments at Rolling Loud in Florida. I think it was last week. And yeah, he
said if you're gay, you have AIDS.
He's like, put your cell phone louder. Put your cell phone in the air. If you ain't got one of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases like HIV that kills you in 2 to 3 weeks, put your cell phone in there.
Which is a weird
comment,
joke,
and then he proceeds to go on
to make all things aside.
Then he proceeds to make a comment going like, put your cell phone in the air if you ain't sucking a nigga's dick in the parking lot or something. Put your cell phone in the air, and I'm like, what?
It was directed at men. He started by saying, "Women, if your
pussy smell like water. If your pussy smell like water, put your cell phone in the air."
Do you think he was just fishing for something to say while on stage to get the crowd worked up and he just got ahead of himself? Or do you think he's just an ignorant fool?
I think he's literally just an ignorant fool. I think there's a lot of homophobia in hip hop that still kind of lingers around. Yeah, we got Lil Nas X and we got, more, gay people in rap. And funny enough, the Bonfire pointed out the point that some of them even dress so flamboyantly that people might consider them homosexual. But I think he was just the thing that really got me is that he kept digging the hole deeper, right? So he went on his Instagram and then he was like,
to make a half-assed apology,
right? No, before that,
he got dropped from Rolling Loud, right?
He got dropped from a lot of... I'm not sure if he got dropped from Rolling On specifically, but he got dropped from many festivals around the U.S. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that he said afterwards is he was like, he was on his Instagram. He's like, and my gay fans ain't even like that. They fancy, they classy. They be sucking dick in a hotel. In a hotel.
Is that really what he said?
Yeah, that's literally what he said. He doubled down. He said, no. See, my gay fans, they ain't sus. They ain't sucking dick in the parking lot. And it's like, bro, that is the most ass backward way of trying to. And then he came out and he'd be like, I've been educated in the plight of the homosexuals, and now I understand what I said was wrong. And it's just like, okay.
Oh, he's just backtracking. To make a comment about AIDS and HIV first, and then follow it up with a comment about gay people.
Also, he
really like out of the times. Like he's like really out of touch. That sounds like something a TV evangelist would say in 2005, or hell, maybe even today.
Well, I don't think the evangelist would be talking about pussy smelling like water.
Making that connection, they were if they're with one of their underage prostitutes.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, but like making that equation from AIDS to gay people is just like I feel like an outdated like line of thought, which it's really definitely just makes me think he's massively ignorant.
It's definitely like a 2007 take.
Yeah, even prior to that, you're talking like 80s, 90s. Like this is
and also AIDS isn't a death sentence anymore. you know what I mean? There's a lot of truth. So his understanding of AIDS is lacking.
Even if it is, like, why would you want to, like, even if it was a death sentence, like, why would you want to mock somebody who has AIDS? Like, you don't go around mocking people with cancer. What if that person
was your fan? What if what if there was a fan with AIDS? And he's like,
I mean, I'm sure there is. There must be at least one or two.
There must have been.
Right? There must be at least a few the baby fans with AIDS.
So yeah,
but you don't mock somebody if they have cancer. You don't go around being like, if you got cancer, don't put your cell phone in the air. You're shunned.
No, in the
that's so weird.
It's really out of touch. Obviously, We don't agree. That's why we're shaming him.
I think he's massively ignorant and massively dopey. To go back to the thing about why he's so memeable, I think without people kind of like saying it outright, like everybody had picked up on this fact that like sure his music's cool, he's got a good flow, all that, but like I think everybody kind of picked up and were like, yeah, this guy's kind of a dope. This guy's kind of a dope. He's like a little bit clownish and a little bit ignorant, and I think he's just exposing himself even deeper. If like that was already the assumptions being made about him. I mean, he's only been famous for a couple years at most, you know, but like I want to talk about a couple other videos I've seen of his. So
all right, go on.
There is one that I saw a couple weeks ago where I guess there is these guys in some city somewhere. They're selling like secondhand like candy bar cigarettes. I don't know.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah, they were selling Gushers.
Yeah,
they were selling Gushers.
They like offered him. I don't exactly know what went down, but they like offered him some at like a marked up price.
Right.
And then he was like, "How much for the whole box?" And they like told him like, I don't know, I guess, they're just trying to make a quick buck, so like $200. And he's like, that's not $200, that's $60 at most. The guy's got millions, he's a successful rapper right now, contemporary.
And he thought it was funny.
Yeah, and then he just kind of like mocked them a little bit. And like someone who's supposedly coming from like, a city where that might... I don't know where DaBaby's from, actually. I think he's from the South.
Well, DaBaby came from DaMama and DaPapa.
Oh, that's true, but like the city...
They had DaSex.
DaBaby doesn't understand that yet.
Yeah.
Give him some slack.
DaBaby doesn't understand.
He's too young for that.
Yeah.
He's still a baby.
He's still a baby. He's from Cleveland, Ohio.
He's from Cleveland. Okay, yeah, so, it's like one of those things where it's like, I feel like he should at least, like, be a little bit compassionate to people in a city that were, like, in a plight that perhaps he was once familiar with or knows people that came from, I don't know DaBaby's background, but like that video, he could have like maybe told them, hey, like your prices are outrageous, but you know what, I got tons of money, here's 500. Instead he kind of just mocks him, tells him he was gonna give him money, and then is like, no, you guys suck, and like gets on the bus and like whatever, takes off. I don't know.
No, he gives them like a small amount of money for just like a couple packs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like,
well, he was saying something like, I would have bought the whole thing if you didn't tell me like a certain price or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just for like someone with so much money who should be like maybe somewhat sympathetic to those dudes out there,
hustling.
Yeah, like he, like, it just seems like he's ignorant as fuck. It's just an example of his, like,
DaBaby
massively
is the retard.
and, like, out of touch, immediately out of touch.
Yeah.
As soon as he comes up, immediately out of touch.
Yeah.
And, like, probably was always ignorant. Or there's another one. Someone pointed this out to me where we're watching a DaBaby music video. I think it was for the song Goin' Baby. That classic, Goin' Baby by DaBaby. And the music video opens with a clip of him, like, boarding an airline, or he's telling a story, and he's like, yeah, we were trying to board this airline, and we were on first class, and we're feeling cool. And on there's a woman, and she has a little dog, and the little dog is, I don't know, in a space where he thought he should put his bag. And the lady was like, can you please put your bag on the ground instead of my dog going on the ground? And he was like, bitch, this is Gucci, I can't put that on the ground. And she was like, I don't know, they argue a bit more, and he's like, forget first class, I'm flying private. It was supposed to be like his big, oh, gotcha moment. I'm so wealthy, I don't even need your first class where there's a little dog taking up my bag space. I'm going private. And I was watching the video with my friend, and she was like, because she was enjoying some of his music, and then she watched that, and she's like, I don't know if I like him anymore. And I was like, why? And she's like, that's a really weird fucking thing to say, like, to be so materialistic and so silly about a dog when you can just put your bag on the ground. Like, come on. Yeah. Like, he just seems like a very, like, out of touch. Someone got a lot of money, someone gave him a lot of money, and he's ignorant now, and he's like, just kind of parades that ignorance around, I guess, and that silliness around,
So yeah, shame on you, DaBaby.
He's a goof. He's an ignorant goof. His music's alright.
Yeah.
He's DaBaby. What can you expect? You gotta expect him to be a little ignorant.
Do you think on his cars he has like that baby on board?
Maybe. maybe in a few years the baby can graduate to the toddler. Become a little bit more enlightened.
Yeah.
Maybe in many years we'll have the professor.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah. So shame on you, baby. Shame.
The baby's gonna come after us now.
Yeah, he's gonna come after us.
He's gonna hear this.
Hit him with his baby army.
He'll be like, "Let's go! I'm about to go baby on you."
So
I'm about to go baby on you.
I'm about to go baby. All right. So what else you got?
Well, the other person. This has been on the internet, traveling through the internet recently. It's about this guy Chris Chan. And this had come up because Chris Chan.
This lady, Chris Chan.
Sorry, they're a transgender person, although I'm suspect about that. I have a couple theories about Chris Chan. So Chris Chan is arrested. Hold on, I want to just put a little bit of a disclaimer here. What he's allegedly arrested for, his alleged crimes, are pretty gross, pretty disturbing.
Very disturbing.
So, yeah. With that said, Chris Chan is arrested under allegations that he sexually assaulted his senile mother. His mom is in her 80s and possibly has dementia or Alzheimer's. I don't know.
Dementia.
She's out of it though. She's an elderly person who clearly needs help. And the allegations right now are that he sexually assaulted her. So very gross, very disgusting. But I had seen this come up and I was like, how do I know this person? Like I was unfamiliar with it. I just saw this come up online on the various timelines and I was like, I fucking know this person. How do I know Chris Chan? So I looked into this person, Chris Chan, and it's a 40-year-old transgender person, so man originally who became a woman. I guess I don't know the extent of their transition. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they've gotten like operations or if it's just like they grew out their long hair and like dress in drag or whatever. But turns out they've been on the online and had an online presence for a long time, and I'm talking like since the early to mid 2000s. Mm-hmm. And Chris Chan was originally discovered by various image boards and message boards in the mid 2000s because he's autistic, I believe, and he was like posting and documenting, and he's very sheltered too. I think the dude's autistic and very sheltered, spent a lot of his life online and was documenting it, and he had like weird fascinations with like Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know what it is about Sonic the Hedgehog, but for a long time, and possibly still,
it's a very weird community. It's a very weird and sexual community. Very
oddly, creepily sexual community of like people fixated on Sonic the Hedgehog.
If you just take a cursory look on DeviantArt and just Sonic the Hedgehog, you'll find some shit.
They always say to type in your name, the Hedgehog. So like for me, it'd be like Zach the Hedgehog, and like see what comes up. and it's always a laugh. Chris Chan, he became like this internet phenomenon because people found his fan art and his fanfics about Sonic the Hedgehog, and there's a whole wiki about him. There's multiple wikis.
I'm just looking at Zach the Hedgehog.
So there's a whole wiki about him, and because people like found him and they refer to him as what they call a lol cow, where it was like somebody who's so cringe. He's like an early version of like online cringe.
You type in Bosco the Hedgehog, you just get some hedgehogs.
Well, too obscure a name.
Yeah. Oh, you get this. You get this thing.
That's a weird thing. You could type in, I don't know. You could try typing in Alex the Hedgehog, see what happens. You'll get a lot, probably.
Oh yeah, probably. Anyway, go on.
But
lol cow,
and because people saw he's like one of the earliest forms of like a cringe meme online, where like people would just follow him and his post and his life that he was heavily documenting online, and follow that and just like basically cringe at it and laugh at it. And there was like an interesting video I saw a while ago about like I think it was posted by the YouTube commentator ContraPoints, and she was talking about cringe. I believe it was her, and she was like, this is like an example of something like people can look at this person and be like, thank God that's not me. I might be a weirdo. I might not be all there. I might do strange things or not be super successful.
Doesn't only do good self-esteem.
But like this was like the epitome of someone you could look at and be like, at least I'm not that guy. So, anyways, moving on. Over the years, I guess, he became like, he was always kind of like sexually depraved and had like a weird view of sex and women, probably because he was such a weirdo that he was obviously immensely sexually frustrated, like immensely, and like would become fixated on certain women and like harass them. And I heard in a certain situation, I don't know if this happened more than once, but he would like use it as his outlet. He would like draw up images of him having sex with the woman that is he has a crush on, paramour, and then send it to them. Ew. Yeah, and be like, see, I took out my sexual urges in a healthy way. Very creepy. And so the guy is 40, pushing 40, and is immensely sexually frustrated and extremely sheltered. Probably doesn't have a stable woman in his life ever.
Her life.
And okay, I'll try to refer to myself. Well, here's my theory about this. So I'm gonna go with they.
Okay,
that's
better.
They went on a what they were calling like a love quest or something. They called it that themselves, a love quest, where they were set out to find a partner, a woman. And
what, like a Fallout mission or some shit?
Yeah, like this became their quest to life. They needed a partner. They needed a woman in their life, and they were determined to do this.
Oh god!
So this is where I've heard some theories, and I believe this to be true, that Chris Chan used transitioning as a way to try and appeal to lesbians. That they transitioned from a man to a woman, in order to try, and because obviously their old shtick wasn't working, and so they transitioned and remained being straight, but now obviously they transitioned, so now they're a lesbian, hoping that transitioning they could appeal, because obviously it wasn't working with the straight women, that after they transition, they can now go and appeal to lesbians. I think most lesbians probably saw right through this, or rightfully weren't interested one way or the other, as most women obviously weren't interested in this guy.
They are not very good looking. I'll just put that out there.
I mean, look, let's describe him. He's big. He's chubby. They are big. They're chubby. They've got long, untamed hair, a big old double chin, and like possibly man boobs or possibly boobs implanted in. They look rough. It's they're not attractive, unfortunately for Chris Chan, but that's not a death sentence in the dating world. You can be not the most attractive person and still have plenty of partners. That's not the end of the line, but I think a mixture of his, especially since they began transitioning, and a mixture of their weirdness, their complete social ineptitude, their lack of any, and sheltering leading to any lack of life experiences, has just completely stunted their growth and in turn their sexual life. So in the lead up to this, it seems like Chris has never had any type of job. I believe they're what they refer to as a NEET, not the acronym, not in education, employment, or trade. It's a designation that's directed at certain people who, I believe was created by the government. Certain people who are just considered a burden on resources, as in they're not in education, be it school up to college or post grad.
You may disagree with this, but even someone who is looked at as a burden, I think, should still receive governments,
sure, because
help.
A lot of times those people that are in that situation are physically or mentally disabled in some way,
right?
So the question, I guess, becomes how disabled mentally is Chris Chan, which I'm not going to be an armchair psychologist and say, oh, he's fine. He's got, I mean, if you're going to go out and do something as heinous as sexually assault your senile mother, you're probably a little screwed up in the head.
Yeah.
So I believe that he had kind of become their mother's caretaker, and was kind of like siphoning off their mother by like, you know, the mom is receiving welfare, social security, the benefits an elderly person gets when they can no longer work and, you know, still need a source of income. And it looks like Chris was trying to siphon off funds and, you know, just kind of abusing any benefits that their mother was receiving. There's one video I saw online where Chan was trying to like push like these products they were selling online, and like they got their mom to sit there and be like, please buy these blankets, and then they turn to their mom and they're like, Tell them to buy the high expensive objects too. And she kind of just sits there with like this dazed look, and she's like, yeah, please buy our blankets. And he's like, buy the high end objects.
She just said, banana.
and then they finish up by being like, buy the high ticket items too. And so it just seems like there is a lot of like exploitation and abuse going on directed from Chris Chan towards his senile mother. And it culminated in what I believe, this culmination of him being this weird online figure.
Oh no, that's not alleged. That's true.
A weird online figure with whatever autism and mental disorders he has, mixed in with this weird love quest that he's got going on. Obviously, a failure across the board, aside from having the attention and the spotlight on him online. But it's not helping him in his love quest. Culminates in him becoming massively sexually frustrated, and I guess directing those frustrations onto his senile mother. And he was caught in a recording or something, like someone had called him and recorded him, where he like admitted it and said some very gross things on this, and he's been arrested now, and so he's awaiting trial, and we'll see what happens with that. What do you have to say about that?
I don't know. If I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not really like... I think he's just a weird dude, or they're weird person, and, you know, I'm not really... I don't want to say, like, I'm not really interested in it, but it's just, like... I kind of see, like, you know, viewing them as a locale is like kind of mean.
Yeah, you know I've never really partaken. Like, I'd heard about this years prior, but like I never really took part in like online mockery.
Yeah, I don't like that shit.
Like cringy cultures that go too deep in the one person's life. It just feels mean spirited at a certain point.
Right, and you know, a lot of people have different views on cringe. You know, because they could, you know, pick like, you know, some feminist talking about stuff and be like, oh, look at this cringe feminist, you know what I mean? But with this guy, I just think that this guy really just documented his kind of spiral into, you know, being more and more mentally ill. What that mental illness, who knows? But they, you know, they just spiraled, and I just think that, you know, I think that I think the one thing you can take from this is that when someone's deprived from affection or deprived from love, it can drive people into weird spots. And I think that's the case with Chris Chan. Yeah. Because they, you know, were looking for some love. They were on a love quest or whatever. And, you know, I think I can kind of understand that a little bit. I can sympathize, but...
Do you think internet culture plays a role in driving his descent into what his final crime is?
I'm sure there were people, you know, provoking him, egging him on. Yeah, send them the what was he said he send? What did he send to his crushes again?
He would like draw pictures of him having sex with them.
Yeah. I'm sure his audience pushed him to do that, and
there's been reports of him like harassing women too and stuff.
Yeah, and so this person might not be a good person, but
it's definitely creepy. And but the internet kind of like, I guess, gave it a platform too, and I don't know if they outright encouraged it, but they enabled it in a lot of ways. Internet culture.
So I don't know. It's a weird story, but
it's gross.
It's gross, yeah. And honestly, I don't
creepy.
really want to. I don't want to think about it anymore.
It's creepy.
It's gross.
It's gross.
Yeah. All right.
If you know anybody that might be in a position like Chris Tran, please get them some help.
Yeah, please. Yeah, they need it. Even if they refuse, they need it. All right, let's go into our last little topic. So I heard you wanted to talk about some dreaming.
Yeah, so this I figure we'll have, because instead of the outright conspiracy theory or mystery of the week, I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation, because a couple weeks ago you had brought up this idea of on TikTok, this trend that is called reality shifting.
Yeah.
And I looked into it a little bit, and it seems like what's going on is there's this trend. It seemed to have started among Harry Potter fans. Yeah, where like
of course,
kids online, and like this is popular within a certain age group and demographic, mostly teenage girls. But I mean, I guess it could be applied to anybody. But like these fans of this idea, reality shifting, would try to like through like entering a meditative trance. I don't know what else to call it, although they believe they're really entering another reality, or some of them do. Will like try and enter the Harry Potter world and like go and attend Hogwarts in particular, so they can like pine after Malfoy, Draco Malfoy.
Man, there's so much thirst for Malfoy, I swear.
But I looked into it, and it seems to me like, so
that person who wrote you remember that, like, that early fan fiction where it's like My Immortal,
My Immortal, or
something like that, and it was like all about
like a weird Harry Potter.
It was all about
fanfic.
like I'm not Harry, I'm vampire, and then like she was a wizard taking Draco Malfoy to an MCR concert.
Yeah.
It was just it's worth a look if you haven't seen it. It's cringe.
It doesn't just exist in the Harry Potter fandoms. There's a lot of fandoms. Anime's a big one where people will try and enter the anime world. So it made me think about this thing, because that's pretty much the gist of it. Some of these people might just realize what it is, and it's just daydreaming.
Yeah.
And other people insist that they're really entering another reality. There's like a whole process for like, you're supposed to start with like writing down a script of your desires. Like you write down your script. Oh, I want to be this person in this dimension, Harry Potter world. And I want to, do this and that. And you're supposed to like lay down in a certain like supine position with your arms and legs spread out and envision your other reality along with your script until you start to enter this reality, until you've shifted realities.
Right.
But it made me think of like other things like this, I think there's a big connection with it to lucid dreaming. So one thing it made me think of is like, is in regards to myself is daydreaming. See, growing up, I used to be like a big daydreamer, right? Okay. Like I never really admitted it, because a lot of times it was embarrassing, but like I wasn't like trying to shift realities, but especially when I was a kid, through middle school too, and even into high school, the scenarios would change. But like when I was a kid, I would have like daydream a lot about like being in a Pokemon master and having Pokemon battles.
Dude, I used to think about that all the time. Yeah. Not being a Pokemon master, but just having a Pokemon friend. Yeah, I always thought that would just be, I really wanted that to happen.
And as I got older, like in my high school years and later teens, like my fantasies would turn more into like scenarios where I'm like super fucking cool. Either I'm a rock star, or like I have some talent that I don't have in the real world.
Speaking of which, I have a funny story to that.
Sure.
So I had a lot of like reoccurring dreams just in my life. I seem to sometimes hit a loop. And in high school, I would always have these dreams about coming back from summer break and just being, like ripped, or like I'd dunk and then, everyone would love me. Or one particular one was that I was going to learn the guitar, and then just I would come in cool as shit and just start playing "Hey Foxy Lady," and then all the girls would be
Oh yeah, that was
swooning
always
over me.
one for me that I would like suddenly learn how to sing very well, way better than I do, way better than I ever could.
See you,
and I could play guitar.
Down on your knee, Foxy Lady,
and I would start a band that would quickly rise to international prominence. And like these were just like daydreaming fantasies that I, would have.
Mine were more so based in reality, but it was more so like me having a skill, like not taking it to that degree, but more so just having a skill that would make girls like me.
As I got older and older with it, my daydreaming turned to like more realistic scenarios, but ones where like I was still like a better version of myself, a more likable version of myself, a better version.
I mean, you are very unlikable.
And so I would break through that barrier and become more likable. And
I say this as your friend.
And I would, this was all daydreaming. And, a lot of times I think, I don't know. And I would find, later on, I would find like online communities like centered around daydreaming. And I would realize, oh shit, this isn't just me. Like other people daydream a lot too, so I'm not a weirdo, or at least maybe I am a little bit.
It's one that I would always do, like when I'd be awake. It was kind of a daydream, but I was convinced that I had some latent force powers, like from Star Wars, and then I'm like, you just gotta tap into it. And so I would literally just like, I would look at like, something on the edge of a desk, and I'm like, I just like come on,
telepathy.
Come on. Yeah, no, just like use the force.
Use the force.
Use the force.
Use the force, Bosco.
Do it. And so
stuff like that is kind of what this reality shifting reminded me of. I think like, when I was younger and online, obviously the stuff like now, because of the nature of TikTok and the medium of TikTok, and it doesn't just exist on TikTok. I learned there's other websites that have reality shifting communities. But like, I don't know, I was on the internet from a young age, like 9-10 years old. And, at this age, 9 through like 15, I'm hanging out on like, image boards and forums and whatnot, hosts on like, let's say like Angel Fire or whatnot. And there was always like a big culture there, mostly probably kids around my age, but I thought it was like all older people trying to like give me some wisdom. Like people would talk about how they did telepathy and how you can become, that's what this reminded me of. Like you would just focus, like harness your inner energy and can use telepathy or pyrokinesis. Like you could just harness this power or levitate, so like this isn't like
I'm convinced
anything
if you had any power in the world that you would use it for bad.
I'm convinced to get laid, obviously. Yeah. But like it's like not anything new, and I've seen these trends. I've been a part of them myself, been a party to them myself.
Did you have an imaginary friend as a kid?
Not necessarily like a straight up imaginary friend. It was more just imaginary scenarios where like people I knew in real life would like me a lot better than they really did.
I had an imaginary friend. It was a cloud, and his name was Dream.
A cloud, nice.
It was a cloud, and his name was Dream, and he was my buddy. And I'd be like, "Can you believe this shit, Cloud?" Yeah,
well, that's right? Very innocent and pure.
yeah. I remember that. His name was Dream. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, and I think about that. I think about that sometimes,
I mean, I think all kids, even up through teenage years, like play with their imagination and daydream and like to like think they can conduct like, have some secret powers that like, nobody else is aware of, or they've got some secret power line. Yeah, little do they know that
you become an adult and then you just start to hate life, and then you just realize it for the,
I mean, like when I was younger too, I would like read about spells online, spells and rituals, and then I'd try and do them in real life, like some of my favorite ones included ones to try and fast forward time when I had to go to school, and then like
haven't you watched Click, and haven't you learned that fast forwarding through time only leads to ruin? You miss out on the beauty of the little moments in life. That's what I learned from the movie Click. By the way, hidden gem. Go on.
So yeah, I just think it's something that's that's always existed among young people. I just think because, like I said, the nature of how the internet is now, like the trend becomes more caught on, more people can catch on to it, and there's like a face to this. Like when I would read about stuff like telepathy, or one of the things I wanted to bring up in regards to this, because when I started reading about this, I'm like, isn't this just astral projection? Have you ever heard of astral projection?
Yeah, it's when you like use your mind to like transport yourself into another area, right?
Yeah, I guess that's like the gist of it. It's an idea that's existed for a long time,
right.
As far back as like
that's like
ancient times.
Well, I know that there was like a whole like government program where they were trying to see if they could get people to astral project.
You're thinking of the remote viewing thing, but it's
yeah.
It's a similar idea. All these are connected. They're all like esoteric ideas and practices that, for example, astral projection has existed a long time. A lot of times it was considered in the ancient world, it was supposed to be like a religious practice. The idea is that you have an astral body, which you think of that as like your soul. Something that's in between your physical body, but still contains your consciousness and your intelligence. And that you, through very ardent and strenuous meditation, well, you become very relaxed, that you can like reach this point of trance, like enter this trance where your astral body can leave your physical body and enter what they call the astral plane. The astral plane is like an entire different world that's somewhere between the afterlife and the physical world. And so that you can enter this and kind of like, I don't know, explore it. I don't know what you're supposed to do when you get there. Get closer to God, I guess, in the ancient world. And in modern times, it's supposed to be more of a meditative thing. So that was like the first thing I thought of when I saw this. Although a lot of the people online that are very committed to this insist it's not astral projection, that they're actually physically switching their consciousness into a different reality. The people that really do believe this, like astral projection.
A lot of people are dissatisfied with life. Doesn't surprise me.
It's a form of escape. What I think it is like astral projection. What it is supposed to be like very in-depth meditation. A meditation that's so intense that you can like let go of everything around you, everything physical,
let
and
go
kind of
your physical form.
Yeah, and enter like a hypnotic trance-like state where you're in an otherworldly, ethereal realm that you can, transcend through and like, receive, I don't know, wisdom or just, relaxation or something esoteric that I don't know.
Okay. Very descriptive.
But it's a cool idea. I've never tried it, but I would see people talking about this online too back in the day. It wasn't called reality shifting. I never really saw the term reality shifting.
So what are you getting at?
I'm not really getting at anything in particular. I'm just having a conversation about it. The other thing that it made me think of is like the other idea here is lucid dreaming. Right. I don't know if you've ever experienced lucid dreaming.
I've gotten very close. I've gotten to I have actually I kind of have a bit of they say like, one of the things I always heard was like knock on a door frame whenever you enter a door frame, so that when you're in a dream and you knock on a door frame, you'll know that you're dreaming, right? I've had it in certain circumstances where I'll be in the middle of a dream. A lot of times, like I'll just have like a random dream where I'm in a relationship with some random girl I've come across in my life. And a lot of the times I'm having like a cool sex dream or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. And then I'll have to pee, right? And I'll go to the bathroom and I'll pee, but I still feel like I have to pee, right? But then that's when I know I'm dreaming. That's when I know I'm dreaming, because I have to pee. Right? Because I'm like, oh shit, this is one of those circumstances where because I keep on feeling like the need to have to pee, because in real life, I have to pee. Right? So, like literally I'll just be like pissing for like like 10 minutes in the dream or whatever, I mean, for a while, it's been times where like, I'll just like I'm like, man, I just can't stop feeling the need to piss. But it's because I had to piss in real life, and I'm like, boom, lucid dreaming. And then I usually just come out of it. I never really stay long.
I had a friend in high school who was trying to tell me he was trying really hard to experience some lucid dreaming. And I guess he'd read this strategy online, and he was trying to explain it to me. He was like, either like, he said like you use a Coke can, right? And he's like, you stare at the Coke can as you're falling asleep. You're not holding it because you got to be super relaxed. And you stare at it and you keep just focusing on the word Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. And then eventually, as you drift into this state of being half awake, half asleep, the Coca-Cola will begin to, the words, the letters will begin to shift and morph into something illegible. And, you could do this with like, he said he would use the Netflix logo a lot, and that you just hyper focus on it, but also kind of like let go and relax.
Seems like this guy needs a hobby.
And just focus on, well, it's kids things. That's, I guess the point here is like, this is just like, they're fun ideas, and like, it's a way of trying to
what's a fun idea? Getting a job.
It's just
going to work.
It's just a way to kind of, I guess, toy with your consciousness and toy with like dream states. Because honestly, what this reality shifting seems to me, the way the process was described, it seems like they're trying to induce some type of lucid dreaming.
Okay.
But without outright saying it, and even though they'll deny that, an astral projection is a little bit a step above lucid dreaming in terms of like, if you believe it as this esoteric practice, it's supposed to be a very meditative trance that can like, lead to things like remote viewing or getting closer to God or whatever it is. Lucid dreaming feels like it's just more for the fun of it, just to have a weird dream where you have some agency in that dream. Right. I've never experienced it. I'll tell you where I get closest to it is I've always had
that's one for me because I mean, this is a phenomena that like I thought was just singularly to me, but then like I started talking to other people about it, and I go like, so when you fight in a dream, does it feel like you're literally just throwing like the softest punches of all time, even though like you think you're like, oh, I'm gonna knock this guy out, and then you like just
wind up super hard and you throw that fist and it just lands like so soft on them. They're just like, and you're like, what's, and then like eventually you get used to it, that when that happens in dreams now, I'm like, holy shit, I think this is a dream. And then I kind of wake up every time I have the realization. The one I was gonna say is, ever since I was young, I'll have it, they're not flying dreams, right? Like I'll have them in anything from nightmares to just random dreams where I'll be running and I'll go to jump and I'll jump and I'll like fly up super, super high, like I'm flying, and then like come back down. Like I'll be able to jump over a whole city blocks.
Yeah,
right?
like you're in the Matrix.
And it's been like a thing that's happened in my dreams since I was young. And nowadays when I have that, like I'll realize in the dream, because I'll be doing that, I'm like, oh wait, this only happens in my dreams. And like I'll kind of wake up when I realize that. And that's about as close to lucid dreaming
like that's
I can get.
That's about the same for me. I've gotten like to those moments where you realize you're dreaming within the dream. And then I usually just wake up. I never like, I create my own whimsical world of adventure in my dream, and I can, change, manifest different structures, and it's like Minecraft.
It never gets that intense.
It never gets that intense. It's always like, oh hey, I'm dreaming, and then I just wake up. then I gotta go take a piss.
So I guess the whole point of this is it seems like there's a trend online. What were you gonna say?
Have you ever woken up crying?
Oh, plenty of times.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
That's always depressing. I've had dreams, even one recently when I was camping the other week, and I've had dreams like where I don't wake up crying, but like it's just an upsetting dream that I have, and I wake up in a bad mood. I wake up like pissed off.
I had one in particular where I watched like my mom die.
Jesus.
And it was like,
that's like when you have to wake up and go to church after.
Yeah, no, and I was literally, I've had some with my grandpa on my father's side, where I'll be in a dream and I'll be like at my grandma's house and I'll see him, but it's almost like he's like kind of just like an automaton. Like he's just like this being but like no one acknowledges his existence there. I'm like, yo, isn't it weird that like he's here? He's dead. I literally, when I was in 5th grade, watched my grandpa be here 1 second, gone the next, right? You know, it was a very, it's probably one of my formidable experiences in life because it really made me question a lot of things. You know, just like question, you know, the nature of reality, coming to terms with my own death, you know, trying to at least at that age, you know, at that age, your brain's not even fully formed. So you can't really contextualize it. But just the idea of leaving Earth was just, it frightened me for such a long time. But now, like I said, I'll have dreams where he's there. And then, yeah, no one reacts. And it's so eerie, dude. Yeah. It's almost like he is there. Maybe he's reaching out from the great beyond, whatever your great beyond is.
Reading about astral projection, some people do view dreaming as a light form of astral projection. Yeah. And if you, so like I said, astral projection connects you somewhere between the spirit world. The astral plane is somewhere between the spiritual world and the physical world.
All right.
So I guess it is possible for spirits to reach out to the astral plane. And some do say that dreaming, and I do believe it to an extent too, that dreams lead you into an astral projection, an unwitting one, a one that you're not really in control of, that you astral project in many ways in your dreams and enter the astral plane in your dreams, where in a way you can be connected to other people that wants to be alive through their astral body in the astral plane. So it could be a connection. I've had dreams of my grandfathers too, both of them, both dead after their death, and seen them in my dreams. The one I had, it's not very common for me. The one I had of my dad's dad, which by the way, it's his birthday today. He's long dead, but happy birthday, Bud. Happy birthday, Grandpa Bud. I remember I was having a really tough time. I think this was when I was transferring from De Anza to UCS. I was just having a really tough time with it. I was really stressed, and I was like needing help, but I was like too proud to reach out. I don't remember the conversation I had. It was like barely a conversation, but like in it, I'm just like walking somewhere through like a field, and like I'm like not paying attention. Then like I look up, and like my grandpa was like walking with me. Like I think he said something to me, but I can't really remember what. And then like I woke up and like.
In my dream, I also kind of had that where I said something to him, or like we kind of exchanged, but I don't remember what I said. It wasn't anything like, but it's weird, there's, I know you weren't a particular fan of the album, but Kids See Ghosts, that's just kind of like what's coming to mind when we're kind of talking about this, like, as a kid, like being like more imaginative, being more connected to like the world feels magical. The world feels like, whatever you make of it. Like sometimes kids see ghosts, it's, I think there's something about that, like when you're that young and you're not super influenced by the world around you, that you're able to maybe connect to some like higher spiritual energy or something like that. Because I remember like certain things I remember when I was a kid, there was at my old place in Pacifica, there was this like little crawl space that my aunt, she God rest her soul, she built it into like this like this little mini planetarium.
Really?
Right. Where it had like this, it was like this big like orb thing where light would be shown through it, and then basically it would project like stars and stuff like that. And it was basically like this very small crawl space where I had like a pillow and I just lay down and just like look at stars. I'd read books in there. And like I felt like it was like my own magical little corner of the world. You know what I mean? You feel like. And, there's something about that, like when you get older, you kind of you get bogged down by bills, student debt, you get bogged down by the stresses of life.
A lot of the cool stuff that you hold on to from child years into preteen and teenage years, like having this great sense of imagination, having this idea that you have some inner power that you can tap into. Yeah, you get older, you get a little bit more jaded, you get a little bit more salty and bitter, and all that stuff kind of takes a back seat, and you can't tap into it as well. I've noticed that where I felt like when I was younger, I used to tap into a more meditative state a little easier, a more imaginative state a little easier, and be able to experience things akin to astral projection or quote unquote reality shifting, which is, I believe, is just a version of trying to tap into some type of meditative deep daydreaming state. You know, like I used to be able to tap into that a little easier. I still probably could with a lot of like
you'd have to be meditating like regularly for a while.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. It's not something that I can tap into as easily these days. So, you know, I started basically, I guess my endpoint with all this is like I started looking into this, like kind of scoffing at it and being like, come on, reality shifting. Nobody's reality shifting. And I could still say that you're not shifting realities, but it did kind of...
You're not riding around with Draco on a broom, catching the golden snitch.
It did kind of bring up these other ideas that I always did think was interesting, which is just toying with your consciousness. Toying, whether it's through dreams or through meditative states or just basic daydreaming and seeing like how far you can escape and how far you can tap into something that's otherworldly, something in the astral plane, or just whether it's just in your imagination, and that gives you a little bit of solace and a little bit of comfort to envision yourself as someone a little bit more powerful than you, a little bit more magical than you are, or tapping into a different world.
Before you get a boss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But, you know, so astral projection, I do personally believe it is possible through deep meditation. I do believe that dreams are a form of astral projection. I do believe that your conscious can guide you to other places. And I do think that deep daydreaming can perhaps bring you into a deep hypnotic state where you could enter.
But I think what we're getting at though is that when you get older, you kind of get disconnected from that.
A little bit, you know. I've been like, you know, I looked at this TikTok trend, and like I've been that kid. Granted, TikTok and the internet wasn't as such a mass consuming thing, and it wasn't the same place it was when I was, you know, in my preteen and early teenage years. You know, so I got a different experience of it, but you know, I was there trying to tap into my inner telepathy, like you were, your inner Jedi, you know, or whatever psychic powers you have. Like sometimes I still to this day think I'm clairvoyant.
Yeah, you always say that, but I disagree.
But
you're wrong, but it's okay.
That's all right. You don't have to believe it. The visions aren't ever clear.
Yeah, sure. All right, well, man, that was something. You know? It's something. You know,
embrace those dreams.
Yeah.
And allow yourself let go a little bit, and maybe you can astral project.
I had a dream one time.
Awake.
I had a dream one time where I felt like I was falling. I think I've told you this before. I felt like I was falling, and then I had literally fallen out of bed. Oh yeah,
and you smacked the ground.
I woke up smacking the ground right on my face.
That was your spirit got a little too far gone from your physical body.
But it felt like I was falling for like ever.
Oh yeah.
It felt like I was falling forever.
Well, your astral body probably fell through the astral plane back into your physical body, hence then knocking you off the bed.
Yeah, let's go smoke a bowl. All right, man, that's gonna do it.
So I want to ask you, after I've explained this to you, are you gonna try?
Cut. Go on.
I want to ask you, because after explaining this, are you now going to try an or reality shift into an anime world?
Maybe Naruto.
That is, people do believe that.
Maybe Naruto, but that's
maybe Naruto. That's fine.
That's fine.
You'll reality shift. I believe it. Believe it. Envision it. Script it. Write it down.
Funny enough, believe it. Naruto's catchphrase.
Oh hell yeah! I see. It's a sign.
Yeah, it's a
clairvoyance
sign.
Right there.
Well, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go reality shift into the Naruto verse. Zach's gonna go reality shift into one where he's maybe a little bit more happy.
Yeah.
All right.
With hard work and dedication.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, guys. Take it easy. And if you guys, if I'm gonna open it up, I'll link it in all the bios. But if you want to send an email, if there's anybody out there and they want to just send some mail, the email is bashbrospod at protonmail.com. So,
and if you want to leave any reviews, whether they're good or bad, on the platform that you are listening on, please
tell us that we're terrible. Trust me, Zach is looking for the hate mail.
Yeah,
he can't stop bringing up how much he wants hate mail. So if you don't like it, then tell us why you don't like it.
A little bit more listener engagement would be fun.
Yeah, but you know that comes with time. But yeah, I just want to put that out there. If you want to email, again, it's bashbrospod at protonmail.com.
Yeah, we'd appreciate any reviews.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening, as always.
Take it easy and keep dreaming out there.
Good luck.